Greetings and welcome to 1 in 20 D&D. My name's Gregory and today on the DnDaily vlog we'll be talking about voices and accents and how you can easily add them to your Dungeons and Dragons and role-playing games. Hello friends, I am of course Gregory. That was certainly not my regular voice. I was obviously trying to demonstrate part of the topic for today. I haven't touched on this for a while and it's been in my mind. I'm going to share with you a couple of really easy things you can do to start implementing voices for your characters in your games. Of course, every Wednesday when I play in the Star Wars, or every other Wednesday when I play in the Star Wars game, I use a voice when I'm acting as Zarko. Tonight I'll be playing in the Lost Mines adventure where I will again be using more of an accent than a change to my voice. And so I wanted to touch base on what I've learned and how to easily add or start adding voices to your characters, because it just makes, in my opinion, it makes it so much more fun, and it's really a lot easier than I think most people believe it to be. Here's the trick. You have to start with really simple steps, and I think that's where probably most people get caught up. They believe that right out of the gate they've got to do perfect accents and, you know, be the best voice actor there is, when in reality it couldn't be farther from the truth. I've found that in role-playing games, regardless of the system, the best role-playing voices, let's say, that I've heard are usually not very far removed from the actual player's voice. A lot of times all they're doing is simple things, simple tricks. So I'm going to share with you a couple of really easy things you can do to start implementing voices for your characters in your games. The first and most simple thing you can do, this is it, really. There's two parts of this, but the very first part is to go higher or lower than your normal register. Now, I'm a pretty animated person. I tend to talk kind of high and talk kind of low in equal measures, let's say. So for me, the easiest thing for me to do would just to go in one direction and stay there. Now, let me give you an example. If I go up in the register, I'm gonna talk like this. This is my normal voice. But if I want to go up into the upper register, I'm just going to be talking like I'm trying to push my voice up out of my nose. If I start talking to you like this all the time, you'll probably understand that I'm talking in character. And I could equally go down into my chest, right? Obviously, it takes a little bit of practice, but I'm not really doing much with my voice other than speaking from a different place in my body. So, with tip number 1, here's what you want to focus on. It's all about what you feel in your body. Most of us that probably normally talk from our throat. We talk from here where it's comfortable. Men tend to be a little more in their chest. Women tend to be a little more up into their skull. But that's just that's a very broad generalization. There are men and women that do both with their voices. So think about yourself, think about where you feel yourself talking from, and then just change your focus. Either go higher or go lower. That's the easiest, very easiest way to change your voice for your character. Okay, so that's number 1. Well, I said there's 2 parts to this first tip. So what's the second part of that? The second part of this first tip is to go faster or slower. So for me, you just change your tempo is basically what I'm saying. So for me, I have a pretty smooth, pretty fast, and especially if I get excited about something, like when I'm here on the DnDaily vlog, I tend to get excited, and so my voice tends to speed up. I talk a little quicker and so forth, and I have to almost like really consciously think about like, oh, whoa, Gregory, you need to slow down and take a breath and relax. So here's part 2 of tip number 1. So with raising and lowering the tone of your voice, the next part of the easiest way you can change your voice for a character is to talk faster or slower than you normally do. And I'm gonna, again, give you an example of this. So for instance, if I slow way down and I really enunciate every single word, this is clearly not the way I normally talk, but maybe my cleric or druid or perhaps even my ranger, any character I might play, is going to sound and be clearly different than Gregory, me, the player, as I normally talk. So slowing down like that is a great trick. And I could equally, if let's say you normally speak a little slower, it might actually be easier for you to try speeding up. And here's the fun thing about speeding up. It might cause you to start tripping over words a little bit. I have a little bit of a stutter because sometimes my mind is racing so fast, my lips and my voice can't keep up. And so I do stutter fairly often. You probably have noticed that in some of the videos. And so I'm gonna do it even more than regular. So obviously Gregory speaks pretty fast. But I could talk about a character that really, really talks fast. I mean, this kind of character is like super high strung and is like a race car when they're trying to just like, the words just spill out of their mouths. And you know, maybe this would make like a really good high strung wizard. I could see a rogue being like this. Oh my goodness, could you imagine a rogue that talks like this all the time? And then when they're silent, it makes a really big statement because, you know, gosh, there's nothing there, but normally they're just like so vocal and so fast and like, so, all right, so there's that's 4 different voices. If you just did those things, you'd have 4 voices that you could use the next time you go to a table. If you're a dungeon master, that means you have 4 very distinct NPCs now. And, of course, if you combine those, you get even more permutations of this, right? So you're gonna, what is that, like 16 or something like that? So now you can do, again, you can talk real slow and low, or you can talk real fast and low. I mean, it's all, I can talk low and talk pretty fast. It's a little tricky, but if I think about it, I can do it. Or I could talk real high and real fast, or I could talk real slow and real fast. So there you go. All right, so that gives you these, I guess it's like 8 different voices or something like that, whatever it is. I'm not trying to be the mathematician here. I'm trying to make a point that doing voices is quite that simple. The second part of this is all about accents. Oh, and actually before I move on, let me say one last thing. One of the tricks you can use is to do bad impressions of different things or people or whatever. So for instance, I could do a very bad Mickey Mouse impression. I might talk a little like this, and haha, yeah, it might not be a perfect impression of Mickey Mouse, but it's certainly different than I normally talk.
Or perhaps I want to talk like Yoda and get a little growly. I mean, this is not exactly how Yoda talks, but he does sound a little like this.
And so I could do a bad impression.
Yoda might talk a little more like this, like his words, the way he speaks, the way he words things together.
He has a manner of speaking. So there's another trick you can get into. Change the way you say things. You know, Yoda doesn't say things the way the average human does, right? And a human English speaker, I should say. Yoda flips words around, and that's a really easy thing you can do. You can also add words to your vocabulary. Perhaps you don't typically speak with very convoluted and long words. It's tricky to do that, but it's a possibility. Conversely, on the other side, you could just take all of those out. Well, maybe you talk real simple, like you don't use much words that are more long than 1 or 2 syllables, I guess, like real simple talk, right? I'm a plain person and that's how I talk. Now, I'm also kind of doing a weird southern drawl kind of thing, so let's talk about accents as well. So far we have lower your voice, raise your voice in pitch or tone, however you want to say that. Speed up and slow down. Change your words. And now let's talk about accents. Accents are tricky. Accents are a real bugger because it's very easy until you've trained yourself. Like the professionals make it look like it's a cakewalk. But for those of us that are just starting and just learning, it's tricky because it's easy to go in and out of the accent. You might start with a British accent and then before you know it, you're talking more like Scottish or Australian or South African or something like that. There's a lot of accents that sound pretty similar and are a little trickier to do. So what I recommend if you're gonna do accents is practice. You need to practice them a lot. Like you literally probably wanna just talk that way all day long or as much as you can to really start to hone them in. And don't be afraid to sound silly. I think that's the most important thing. You gotta get over the feeling of embarrassment because if you can't do that, none of your voices are gonna be convincing. And once you do get over that, now it can be fun and funny, and it probably will be. And if there's really meaningful, important moments, it will also be believable, which is really cool. And I think that's part of the fun of role playing is when you get into that really juicy spot in role playing is when what you're portraying, this fantasy world that we're creating, this story that we're making up and playing make-believe together, it becomes believable. That's exciting. That's really rewarding and lots of fun. So let me summarize the simple, easy ways you can start using voices in your role playing. You can either raise your voice or lower your voice. You can speed up how you talk or you can slow down how you talk. And then you can change your words. Use long syllabled words that you might not typically prefer to use and maybe string them together in interesting and exciting ways or make sure it real simple. You might even clip words, right? That's another easy way to do it. And then when it comes to accents, my biggest suggestion with accents is just practice them for a long time. Like just keep practicing them, and even in the game, be silly, be outrageous, take some risks and have fun, because ultimately that's what we want to do. We want to have fun. You know what else is fun? This video right here is going to be fun for you. I will see you at a table someday, my friends. Keep rolling 20s until then, and remember, it's your game, play your way. That's exciting. That's really rewarding and lots of fun.